the screen here, obviously, is how to master your entire virtualized infrastructure with VMware vCenter operations. It's a pretty tall order, mastering your entire virtualized infrastructure, but we're going to give it a shot within 45 minutes anyways. I'm Dave Fivey. I'm with Champion Solutions Group, and we're going to just kind of briefly talk a little bit about Champion Solutions Group here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a demonstration on vCenter Operations Manager. It'll really give you a good idea on how to better manage your virtualized infrastructure, and we're going to talk a little bit about the highlights here as we go through a few slides. But it's all part of our Your Cloud demonstration facility. And what that is we've gone ahead and we have compiled many of the advanced VMware product sets together that really make up a private cloud. And of course that means something different to pretty much everybody on the horn. But what we've really been able to accomplish is to really kind of simplify all these complicated products that come together to form an automated VM environment. And one of the more important aspects of that is not necessarily just the end game, but how do you get there? And how do you get a handle on what you have today? And how do I lay a better foundation to prepare me for kind of what's to come, if you will, with some of these new features and functions? So that's kind of what we'll be talking on today, is really how to get a better handle on what you have right now and a better way to manage things. So a little bit about Champion. We are a virtualized and cloud computing company. We have many different aspects of what it is that we do for customers, and here's a list of them. I mean, we have virtualization and cloud computing, and obviously that takes into account server and your storage, your desktop virtualization, private cloud and public cloud. We have many accolades that we'll get into here in a moment on a lot of these different cloud providers that we've been working with. But more importantly, we've been working with a lot of customers to be able to help them understand, all right, well, what do these different cloud offerings mean to me? And, you know, do I need to put everything in the cloud? And obviously we're hesitant to do that. What things are relevant to me today versus not? That's really what we have a lot of conversations around on today on the virtualization and cloud computing component of our business. We also have a data management and security practice. That really comes back to, you know, Champion's been around for 30 years, and you know, we've done quite a bit of things in that time. We grew up as an infrastructure company, a technology infrastructure company, and a big component of that was storage and storage area networks. And as we've kind of progressed through the time, it's given us, put us in a really good position in terms of skills on board to be able to help organizations better manage their data content, security wrapped around that, their backup and recovery and DR type solutions, as well as migrations, ton of data migrations. So we have an entire data management and security practice that's wrapped around that. We have a very deep professional services bench. We can handle anything from, as it lists here, system integration and consulting, contract services and project-based, so if you need project management. But really, there's a whole laundry list in terms of skill set that we have that probably would take up too much time in this call to really list out. But there'll be contact information listed out at the end of the call here. We do a whole lot more than just cloud and VMware. Let's just put it that way. Maintenance and consulting services, basically what that allows us to do is that allows us to take maintenance contracts, lease renewal type information, renewal for your licensing, and as well as lease information, and kind of wrap it up all in one little portal there so that you have one central point to manage all of these things and keep track of all of that. It was something that as we kind of progressed through you know, this organization's history and working with customers, we realized that the folks really needed a better way to handle their maintenance contracts and leasing contracts, and we've provided that. And then, of course, we have IT Procurement Services. So, you know, we are an OEM retailer and VAR for a lot of different manufacturers, IBM, NetApp, VMware, Microsoft, you name it, we probably have worked with it in the past. Anyway, so we had mentioned some of the accolades. Here they are. One of the things that we're real proud of, and that's probably a lot more relevant to the call here, is we got VMware Infrastructure Virtualization Partner of the Year for the Americas Award this year, which we're real proud of that. We worked really hard to accomplish that. So obviously we have some skill set there in the back end for virtualization. And of course we got CRM Tech Elite and you know, a bunch of the other ones that are listed out here. One of the other ones we're super proud of is we got Best Places to Work from the South Florida Business Journal. So we found that to be a great testament to the folks that we're working with. But here's some of the things that we were going to talk about today is what we've been experiencing and seeing our customers going through in their virtual environments is managing VM sprawl is a big one, right? Once you've gone through and you've kind of virtualized your infrastructure, the ease of being able to roll servers and platforms out kind of gives the illusion that these things are quote free, and they tend to kind of, we tend to provision a lot more servers than probably we need to just because it's simple to do that, and really keeping track of what is relevant and what isn't in this fast-paced environment starts to get out of hand, and then we got all these virtual machines sitting out there that probably can be cleaned up, which is obviously the next bullet there. So identifying unused and reclaimable capacity, that's something that's really challenging to do today with just your simple Virtual Center client. Usually you really have to kind of go by word of mouth and go around and talk to the business units to try to really do some detective work to understand what they're doing with these virtual machines. Performance bottlenecks, of course, that's always a challenge to hunt down and track, especially with some of the performance analytics tools that's built into just the native vCenter client, so we're going to talk about a little bit on that. And managing change control, how to track changes between environments. There's another module for VMware that allows you to track actual configuration, if you will, across the environment, Configuration Manager. Well, that ties into Virtual Center Operations Manager that allows you to actually have a correlation between change events and performance analytics. So we mentioned a little bit about your cloud demo experience, and here's exactly what it does for us. It allows us to offer a one-of-a-kind look at your roadmap to the cloud. And we mean that, we really do. We like to be able to sit down and understand, not only help you understand what the end game is and how these private clouds function, how all these components tie together to really create that environment, but more importantly, where are you at in terms of your virtualization practice, and is this complete end game really relevant to your business, or is it kind of somewhere along the road? So we really have worked with organizations to kind of help them not only understand what's available and where things are moving towards, but where they are and how we can help them get there. We accelerate your virtualization adoption. Really, the bottom line is that there's always some remaining application and dev folks that are a little concerned about virtualizing some of the tier 1 apps, and we really help people not only understand how to better optimize their virtual environment, but also how to really be able to provide the performance and stability and security that some of the tier 1 folks are looking for those applications. We listed here, we got all kinds of different modules, which I've already mentioned, that really kind of provides this automated platform above, VM infrastructure, which is vCloud Director. We're not going to be getting too much into that in the call today. And of course, Champion, we can recreate or emulate an existing environment. So, if there's some testing or things that you guys want to get some hands-on or understand, we have a pretty sizable lab here in Boca, Florida. We have about $2.5 million worth of gear in there, and all kinds of varying different servers and storage, and you name it, it's probably in there. But the point to the environment is it really gives us a unique capability for our customers to be able to create a hands-on, lab environment that is running a lot of these things that we can try and educate our customers on without them necessarily, quote, breaking it in their environment. So we do provide hands-on training for our clients out of there. So that's a kind of a 10,000-foot overview on Champion. Let's get a little more specific around VMware vCenter Operations Manager, which is what we're going to be demonstrating today. And what does it really do? At a real quick overview, it provides a customizable dashboard with health checks and alerts, and really it does a really good job of, and you guys will see here in a moment, of kind of giving you the red light, green light of what's happening in the environment. It will identify potential risks, and it'll do predictions on that. So it'll give you an idea of when I'm going to be running out of space. Automated alerts for planning, so it can actually send you emails just to give you a heads up that, hey, look, you're probably going to be running out of something in a week, 90 days, whatever it is. Reporting policies, so I can set up some other customizable reports that I can generate on a weekly, monthly, whatever I'd like basis, so that I can sit down with the business units and actually be able to provide some empirical data on what's actually going on in the environment and why I might be asking for resources or what I'm asking for. And of course, that applies to the same bullet, or the next bullet down there, capacity planning. And of course, performance analytics really gives us a better capability to see what is going on with up and downstream devices and how they might be tying together in terms of some challenges with performance I might be having. So without further ado, why don't we just go ahead and take a look at the products.
Let's get started. In this portion of the video, we'll be reviewing what is required for the basic installation and setup of vCenter Operations 5.0. It's very simple to install. Really, all you have to do is hop out to VMware's site and go to the support and download section and pull down the vCenter Operations appliance in which you want to deploy. It comes in a couple different flavors. You have Standard, Advanced and Enterprise Plus. Really the difference between all of them, they come bundled with other pieces of software that will do some advanced features and functions. If you'd like to talk more on that, just reach out to us and we can really get in depth. But basically all you have to do is you pull that down, which comes in the format of an OVF, which is an open virtual format file. And contained in that file is a virtual app, or a VApp. And really this allows VMware to package multiple virtual machines into a single file. So what gets deployed is really you just hop out to your Virtual Center server. You have an option here to deploy an OVF template. And you go ahead and select that and you browse to wherever it is that you downloaded your template to. It'll go ahead and copy that out to the farm. And once that's done, all you really have to do is go to the VApp itself, highlight it, and power it on. Now, the VApp consists of two components. You have one machine that its job is basically the back end, or the database, and it's the analytics VM. And it does a whole lot more than just collect data, but we'll just leave it at that it's your back end database that is responsible for collecting and gathering this information. And then you have the UI VM. It's the user interface VM. It's not just a clever name. It provides the user interface for Virtual Center Operations. It's basically where you point your web browser to. So initially when the thing fires on, you power it up. It will collect an IP address via DHCP, or you can bring the console up itself and you can configure the IP addressing on a small menu that's available on the interface when the VM powers up. And then you go through a basic setup wizard that asks you, all right, well, what is the Virtual Center server I'm going to talk to, and what IP address is it, and give me some credentials and things of that nature. Once you provide that, it's up and kicking and gathering information. So, like I said, there's not a whole lot to it, and that's your basics of installation of vCenter Operations. Okay, so now that we covered our basic installation, what I'm looking at here now is this is our user interface, or the web browser, pointing at the UI VM. vCenter Operations 5. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to go over some of the basic features and functions of it. This is really designed to be an overview, so we won't get into a ton of detail. But if you have further questions or really want to drill into this product, give us a shout. At the end of the video there's a slide that has all the contact information, and just reach out to us and I'd be more than happy to hop on and give you a thorough demonstration on the product set. But anyways, without further ado, this is the dashboard page of vCenter Operations. And essentially you can see that they break it down into a really clean view of kind of what's going on in your environment. On the left hand side we kind of have the tree view, if you will, and you can see that I am currently monitoring 4 Virtual Center servers. So that kind of answers the questions of whether or not you can monitor multiple Virtual Center servers. Obviously you can. I mean, you can see that I can drill into individual objects and kind of get a more granular view of what's going on. But more on that here in a little bit. So basically what we're looking at here is it's broken down into really 3 major columns. We have health, risk, and efficiency. Really, health is kind of the standing issues in your environment as it stands today. Think of it as a snapshot of right now what's going on. And kind of this little cluttered view is really a, they call it kind of the weather map. And it really just shows you individual virtual machines, hosts, and vCenters represented by individual boxes, and the color state of their really, their health state at the moment. So if I want to know really kind of what's going on here, I can drop this down And health state is kind of broken down into a couple different definitions, right? You have your workload, which is self-explanatory, your CPU, your memory, your disk, and that is a right now what is going on with my workload. And then I have my anomalies. Now anomalies is more of a trended analysis of the environment, so it takes into account peaks and valleys, spikes, all of that stuff, and that's more of a more of a correlation of that information. And then I have faults, and faults is basically broken stuff. So power supplies, things like that, physical issues with box will show up in here. And then of course I have my alerts. Now you can see that they've done a really good job of summarizing alerts in the environment. I have not so important, generally irritating, and you probably ought to do something about this right now, levels of alerts, right? They've also summarized that here in the right hand column. You can see I have all my alerts, and really what you're viewing on this dashboard is relative to what you're highlighting on the left hand side here. So give an example. This is all my VM environment that I'm looking at and information for that. I can drill into individual hosts and clusters and things like that, and you can see I get more of a summarized view of that individual component versus the overall environment. But we'll get into a little bit of that more in here in a second. The other component or column you got in here is you have risk. Risk is more of a trended utilization of the environment, and it has more to do with what's to come. Health is basically what's going on right now. Risk is a summary of what's going to happen or trended in the environment. If I drop this guy down, you can see overall it's telling me, hey, look, time remaining. That's your indication of when you're going to have a resource expire, or basically when you are going to run out of a particular resource in the environment. You can see it's telling me I've got 196 days before I've got a challenge with this particular resource. And you can really drill into that and get a lot more information on that. And also your capacity remaining, it gives you an idea of, based on your current workload and your trended workload in this environment, you could probably gen up about 404 more virtual machines. So real nice, quick, at a glance, you can see what's going on and what you got left. Stress in the environment is basically a trended workload and comes back and says, listen, you're going to have an issue about at this date with a particular virtual machine or a particular cluster. And you can drill into that and get a whole bunch more information on that. And this is just kind of a summary of the environment, and it's similar to over here. You can drill in and bring up more information on the environment. And then the final column I'll go over here is you have your efficiency column. Now this is new with vCenter operations, and there's a lot of information also that is now rolled up into vCenter operations that used to be another product, which was Capacity IQ. So a lot of the information and analytics that are built into Virtual Center or vCenter operations was part of Capacity IQ. So if I bring down my efficiency tab, this is really unique because what this really helps me do is it tells me, hey, look, you've got this much reclaimable waste. And the way it knows that is it trends the utilization of your environment. And it comes back and it really gives you a great idea of far as overcommitted resources for virtual machines, overcommitted resources in disk and memory. And you can really kind of go back and take a second look at what's going on with these machines and reclaim space in your environment, which is something that's obviously very useful. And then of course you have your density. Your density is really just how many virtual machines are you running on physical hosts, and what type of density are you really accomplishing. Yeah, it kind of summarizes that at a high level. So that is your overview of kind of the dashboard on your vCenter operations console. Now I'm going to drill in and kind of take a look at some of the other things that you can do in this environment. Now you have your operations tab, and then for those of you that were familiar with vCenter operations 1 and up, this is the Skittles view, and this is what was kind of available to you with that. Now you can see at a high level, I can see already I've got some machines that are highlighted in red and are having current challenges, and I can drill into those machines and kind of get an idea of what is going on with that particular resource. Now they've done a good job of kind of summarizing on the left hand side utilization, resources, and things of that nature, and I can see that what it's complaining about is I have two faults going on with this particular machine. And if I drill into the faults menu and try and get an idea of what's going on, you can see that it's essentially complaining about network connectivity for a particular virtual switch. So it's very quick to be able to help you not only trend in your environment and understand what you're using in terms of resources. It's also helping you kind of trim the fat, so to speak. But in addition to that, it's a great tool set to help you troubleshoot challenges that you might be having, whether that be performance bottlenecks, whether that be the example here where we lost some network connectivity, or whether that be, disk I/O challenges. It's a great trending tool set. A couple other things real quick I will cover in this brief summary of this product set is the planning tab. Planning tab is a great tab to be able to go through and kind of get an idea of what's going to happen, when am I going to run out of resources, and what do I need to add to kind of do that. Now, if I drill into some of these components, you can see that here's a particular virtual machine. It gives me an idea of what utilization, what resources it's using, how much of it, and basically the time remaining on those resources and when I'm going to have to worry about adding resources. I can go into different view sets on here and get some great graphing out of here. So if I want to see, for example, my data store inventory information, virtual machine capacity usage, waste and stress, but you can see that it will graph all of this out and give me some nice reporting that I can kind of come back to my management and say, listen, based on what we're doing with these machines, these hosts, these data stores, all these analytics are available at all these different levels of the infrastructure. I can trend and report on with empirical data that look, we're going to have to do something about this in 6 months, 8 months, and this goes a long way for helping us to do budgeting and planning. And I guess two of the last components that I'll talk on real quick, you do have an alerting mechanism that is built into the product set, and you can set different alert policies based on different thresholds, based on failures, things of that nature, so that if you want to send you an email when, hey, resource utilization of a particular data store reaches X or I/O latency reaches X, you can do that. So that's a real useful feature within there. And then the last piece I'll just briefly touch on is the reports. You can see that I only have one individual report because of the level I'm sitting at. If I go up to the world, I get a ton of reports. You can run these manually, or you can also have these scheduled so that it'll run in the background and shoot it out to you in email. So it's great for weekly, monthly reporting type stuff. And I'll just bring up one that I already generated. Basically what this guy is this is a data store report, and it gives me an idea of my trended data store capacity usage, and you can see it's kind of flatlined with the exception of a couple of them there. Gives me an idea of what the utilization is going to be and where it's going. Gives me an idea in terms of capacity. So as you can see, these are great reports that are generated out of here. They have a ton of data, and they're very useful for providing a good summary of what's going on in the environment. Really, this is just concludes a very brief summary of Virtual Center Operations 5.0. Would love to drill into any questions you might have or give you a deep dive on this product set.
Well, folks, I really appreciate you joining. What are next steps here for you? If you'd really like some additional information on this, on the cloud center that we have stood up, some assistance with virtualization, all these things that Champion has capabilities of, please reach out to us here at the information that's listed up. Also, that there is a promotion being run currently for vCenter Operations Manager. Right now through September 15, it is 50% off. It's a special that VMware is running. So would love for you guys to take advantage of it. If you'd like to see some additional demonstration capabilities that we have in the lab or get some education on any one of these products that were listed out here, please feel free to reach out to us. We really appreciate you taking the time on the webinar today and hope you found it useful